Welcome back. We are live once again for part two of my cancer journey, and I have the lovely Angel Livas with me to help me walk through that journey. The second part of it, which was interesting as well, but yeah, Angel, let's get right to it. Let's.
All right. Well, let's definitely thank you again for having me. Definitely want to acknowledge you for inviting me to be a part of this. Yesterday, well, shoot, not yesterday, but the last episode, we talked about how you were diagnosed the first go round, the story of when it happened, how you found out, all of that, right? And we made it through like, okay, you were cancer-free and you were sick still after the fact. Let's start with, what was a time frame between being in remission, cancer-free, and then what were your symptoms? Like, when did you realize something was wrong?
Yeah, so my last treatment for the first go round was in January 2013, January 17th. I remember all the days. They're like anniversary days of like treatment and things of that nature. So January 17, 2013. And so fast forward. So once you reach 5 years, you're like pretty much good to go, Mm-hmm. And so that year, 2018, I wanted to do a fast. So I started fasting. I just a religious cleanse for myself. And so I did the Daniel fast. So I wasn't really eating much of anything, just fruits and vegetables and water. And so I started to kind of see the results. And I was working out as well, running. I was definitely really running a lot. And I started to lose a lot of weight. And so I was like, okay, this is working, because usually 40-day fast, you're kind of, losing that weight. And
you've never been big either. Like, so
no,
just like losing all this weight, like what?
I know I've never been big, but you don't want that skinny fat. Nobody wants to be the skinny fat. You're like cool, but then you're like, So as I was doing the fast, I was approaching that year, 2018. So that was in April, around that time. I was at a wedding, and so my line brother, I was in his wedding, and went to Atlanta. But I started to feel like cold symptoms, like I was always coughing and just cold sweats and things of that nature. But I'm thinking like it's the flu, so I'll take some like regular medicine. And I had lost so much weight, so I had to get a lot of stuff readjusted, even my suits. And I was just like, dang, like this is crazy. Like this weight is great. So that, it was 5 years. So I'm thinking everything is fine. Mm-hmm. And then during the wedding, a lot of people noticed, like some other people had like coughs and colds and things of that nature. Is crazy around May to have that. But then I started to just kind of feel the same. I'm like, I'm taking all this medicine, NyQuil, not Tylenol 3 this time, and then I had to go to the doctor just I think for a checkup. And so that's when me and my wife, we went to a checkup, and then they gave me a note.
Now, when you say a checkup, are you saying, was this like a cancer checkup? Was this like a regular physical checkup?
It's a cancer checkup. It's a regular checkup, and where I was getting my results back, because I always have to get blood drawn and CT scans, just in general. And the rep gave me a note. She gave me a note, and she said, your doctor left this for you. And so I look at it, and it says, I need to get a ultrasound on my liver. And I'm like, why do I need to get an ultrasound on my liver? Like, this is weird. Like, okay, whatever. And I was talking to Miracle, and I was like, why do I gotta get an ultrasound on my liver? Like, I don't get it. And so I went and got the ultrasound, and they said that there was a mass there was some lymph nodes, on my liver. And I was just like, okay, and so I called my oncologist and I was like, should I be worried about this? He was like, well, I mean, you have lymph nodes. We're not going to call them cancerous, but you have lymph nodes. And so I said, all right, okay, all right, sweet. And so so that was in May. After we came back, that was June, and because it was I want to say it was Memorial Day weekend, I believe, yeah. And so 2 months later, I started to like really have these cold symptoms, like coughing and meetings, and like, and I was in one meeting where we had like the area president, and like, when you got the big boss in the room, you want to be on your P's and Q's, but I'm like, he came in and he's talking, and I'm like coughing, and I'm trying to like take ginger chews and things of that nature to kind of calm the cough, but it was like really, really bad. I had came home, and this was probably like the second week in July. I came home and I was coughing so much I started to dry heave. And it was so bad, like I could barely breathe. And so Miracle took me to the hospital. She took me to the hospital because it was really bad. Like I was on my knees, like really bad. And then it was just like they couldn't figure out what it was. Like they really couldn't figure out what it was. So I didn't feel like had another episode. I was like, well, what is it? Is it an infection? Is it, because I've been having this cough, cold, whatever it is, for quite some time. And so once again, we went to the emergency room, and then I had to stay in the hospital because they were like, we need to do more tests. So they had this, it was a little bit different this time. And I'm like, is this cancer again? I hope it's, not again, like 5 years free. I'm like, I thought
How long did it take for that idea to surface?
It probably the second day in the hospital. Because for me, I'm like, I'm good, like I'm good. I've done my part. You see what I'm saying? Like no more cancer. It's not possible. And so they had a team of doctors and nurses, and they were testing me for all these like just infectious diseases, or seeing if it's an infection on my liver, because there was no other, kind of indications of anything else. And that part of it was very uncomfortable. They in the hospital, you get your wristband, and anytime they charge you for something, it's scanning your card. And I'm like, man, so how much is this really going to cost? Because for me, I'm like, the longer that I'm in the hospital, the more.
$100,000 bill again.
Exactly. And so they couldn't find anything, and it was so annoying, and shout out to Miracle for just being a trooper in the hospital. Those hospital chairs are not comfortable to sleep in, and I didn't really have much space that she could really lay in the bed with me. But we were on day 3. These doctors come, and then another group of students come, and they're like coming in, like examining. I'm like, what's really going on? And so they were like, well, we can't find anything. But we don't think it's okay for you to go home. And I'm like, okay, this is crazy. This is really crazy. Like something has to give, like I'm not feeling well. And so this is when they said, you know what, we're going to do another biopsy. But we're going to do a biopsy on your liver. And I don't know if you know where your liver is. Do you know where your liver is? Okay, so
yeah,
you're inside your rib cage. However, to do the biopsy, it was different from the first time where it was right through the chest, like straight in. They had to go in, go through. And so there's that little claw going in through there. And so the recovery of that felt like hell. Anytime I coughed, it hurt, because there's like a mini incision, and so that was that. And so I was like waiting for the results, and then
how long did you wait?
Probably like 3 days, because they were still right. So 3 more days, so I'm already at 6 days.
So you over 135,000.
I'm sure. I'm sure. And So they finally came back and they said, you know, not only you have, cancerous lymph nodes on your liver, you actually have them all over your body. So not only my liver, my spleen, and both sides of my chest. So anytime there's more than, so that's how they constitute stages. They classify stages. If it's one place, like the first time is stage 1. So mind you, I got liver, spleen, chest. And so that's stage 4. So this whole entire time, these coughs, you know what I'm saying, and things of that nature, that was the lymph nodes that were cancerous spreading all over my body. So I'm like, wow. And that took me back a little bit, because this whole entire time that I'm thinking I'm losing this weight, I'm doing, some really good stuff. It's the cancer just growing and growing and growing. And because your liver holds all your nutrients, that's why I was losing weight. So, and I was just taken away. I was taken away. And that really brought me down, because I thought I was already, done with cancer, dealing with it. And once again, not only stage 1, but stage 4. And so I talked to my oncologist, and he was just like, I don't know why I came back. So now I'm there, right? I'm there. I'm just kind of like, you don't know why I came back. Like, so was I not eating right? Like, we saw the test every.
And weren't you going for your regular checkups?
Yeah. So that's the scary part. I'm going to my checkups, my blood work looking good. I was able to take my port out, because you can take your port out after 2 years after your test. Mm-hmm. So I've done all these things, but why in the hell is it coming back again, but in a more aggressive form? Yeah. And so that was a breaking moment. And I was just in shock. Not only in shock, but just really, that got me down. That got me really in a dark place, because I'm thinking I'm doing everything right. I'm trying to live right, trying to, maintain my sanity, and not, deal with cancer. But then knock, knock, I'm here, but I brought some people with me. I brought a little bit more with me. And so that was a game changer. That was a game changer, man. So, and it was tough, because I had legally got married the 4th of May. And so
of the same year?
Yeah, the same year. Yeah. We didn't really want to tell anybody. We were kind of do that, like, hey, surprise, kind of like renewing our vows type thing. But now I'm in a different space. I have now a wife who's dealt with cancer, but not really, because her mom's a breast cancer survivor, but her mom never shared that piece with her. Mm-hmm. So she is like, so this is what the first year is looking like. I got to deal with cancer. So that was tough. That's tough. Because I went about cancer. I didn't want no help. I was good. Because I felt, though, that I didn't want to, your wife is going to be there, wants to, make sure you're, stay home and do all this. And I know that once I knew how I beat it 5 years ago. So I was going to do that again. I'm about to repeat, but it was tough. Those conversations were tough, because if she wanted me to kind of slow down, and I was like, I gotta keep going. I gotta stay busy. I can't sit here, because this time I'm really messed up. Like, I'm really trying to hold on strong, because this is messed up. Cancer. Why?
How did this situation, round 2, test your faith?
Ooh. And so That's a great question. It had to humble me. It brought me to just humility, you know. And one thing that my mother, she prayed with me every single morning. Um, I think that it just grew my faith even stronger, because when I told my best friend, Lauren, who's actually the producer of the show, and she was like, "You got to be kidding me!" Like 5 years, and now it comes back, and um, you know, we're both prayer warriors for each other, but she just was like, "Man, I'm gonna be praying hard, and I'm gonna check on you every single day, more than I did the last time." But the faith grew a little bit stronger and stronger and stronger, and that's that. I had to have that that mindset, but times 10 now, times 10, because I just couldn't believe it. I'm sitting there asking God, like, why? What's up, man? What are you trying to really tell me? Like I thought we had a deal. I thought we had a deal and everything's good. So what are you really telling me? And so I had to stay prayed up. My sister Leslie, she gave me a book of scriptures and a journal, because you have to have that faith. Otherwise, you allow the devil to take over your thoughts and just your energy. Yeah, it was yeah, God, I had to get on my knees. And I had some moments where so I did this ritual. Every time I took a shower, I would just kind of, do what I need to do, get cleaned up, and I would literally sit at the edge of the tub, and I would hold myself like kind of like you hold your knees, and I would just let the water just rain on me, and I would pray, but then that was my place to just let it out, like to really just be vulnerable and just cry, because I was just like, this is not happening again, and but then also too, just to kind of let it out, because I had to be strong to go to work, and that and then to deal with that, like, and the chemo wasn't as aggressive, because classic Hodgkin's lymphoma, it's not as aggressive as large B cell lymphoma. But yeah, me and God, we were talking every day, probably 4 times a day, just so I can have peace. Just so I can have peace.
And it sounds like when you were at the end of the tub, what it makes me think of is essentially allowing God's anointing to rain on you.
Yep.
And allowing yourself to submit to whatever that is, and being open to receiving.
Yeah, and you're spot on with that. It was, and I did it like every day, because I just felt like it was so much on my shoulders. It was so much pressure, that was coming on to me. One, being a new husband, but and then number two, trying to be strong and be the example for the people that look up to me. My nephews, my nieces, and just my team. But at the same time, not overextend myself to where, because I'm not invincible.
I heard this earlier, actually yesterday. Like, you're not a superhero, but you are a warrior, and there's a difference. And knowing how to, relinquish the whole ideals of like, I'm invincible, I can get through everything, but understanding like I'm a warrior, like you said, being a prayer warrior, being a warrior, and just knowing like, okay, I've reached my capacity. Like this is it.
Yeah, and that I had to, like that's the humility. But I think it was really tough for and I go back to this for my wife, because I didn't let her do anything, and I said this, and I should have rephrased it a little bit better, but I said I just want you to be the passenger in my Uber ride. I want to just take a ride with me through this, because this was the only way I knew how to beat, cancer.
So one of the things that like I was actually about to go to, and this was a perfect segue, is when it comes to being in a relationship and dealing with anything, right?
Ooh, yeah.
We have our ways of coping. We have
Yep.
our ways of doing things, especially when you've been through something before. You're
Yeah.
like, yo, I need you to just sit back, relax, and just watch me do this thing.
Right, right.
But understanding you have a responsibility to that person. The first go round, you were able to, who you wanted to let in, you let in. Who you didn't want to let in, you shut out, right?
Yeah.
You didn't really have that choice here. So how were you able to invite her in and keep her at bay without making her feel unwanted?
I think I could have did a better job. I kind of selfishly was just going back to what I did the first time, and I think that that was my downfall. I should have allowed her to play a part in the healing. And one thing, a lesson learned is that just to ask your partner, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, and he just asked my wife, like, hey, like, what is it that you want to do? Because I know, and just check in, right? Because how are you handling all of this? I never asked. I didn't care because I was going through the chemotherapy again. And I think that sometimes when we're going through things, and the people that love you and the people that are there for you, you got to make sure they're good too, because they're going through it with you. But if it's something like cancer, that's a whole different ballgame, because they're thinking about, like, dang, what's the next day going to look like? What can I do? But I'm sure she felt that he's not even allowing me to take a load off his shoulder. And so, that's where I messed up. I will say I definitely could have been better in allowing her to help and take some of the things off my shoulder, rather than trying to be the strong man and just trying to be like, I got this, got this, and not just tone it down a little bit.
Now, were you able to, or was she able to communicate this to you during that time? Or did she essentially have to kind of hold her peace because she didn't want to add added stress to you?
Well, she didn't want to add added stress, but we did have a conversation one time about this whole journey. And then when I just mentioned to you, like, I just wanted her to just kind of be in my Uber ride and let me, take the back seat. Well, I shouldn't have said take the back seat, because I think that was like, damn, but I'm supposed to be your wife. I'm supposed to hold you down. You see what I'm
Right
saying?
by your side.
I'm by your side, but you trying to do this by yourself. I thought we were supposed to be one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that during that time, you know what? It was just more or less like going through chemo again, going through the needles, going through the tests. And this time I had to go more frequently. Like, I had 12 rounds every 2 weeks, so it was bi-weekly. So last time it was every 3 weeks. But this time it was just more frequently. And a part of me wishes I, would have just been kind of a little bit more understanding. But another part of me was just like, I'm not in the best headspace, like it was almost depressing,
Mm-hmm. And I think many people do fall into a state of depression. So how did you combat that?
So I had to, I really, it was one of those things where, I'm big on positivity. One of my strength finders is positivity. And I had to continue to take not only my previous fight, but also to really stay prayed up and allow. And this time I just told everybody. I let everybody know. I remember the first time I was like, no. I said, hey, this is what's going on. It's back again, and I have to deal with this. But you know what was dope about it is it's like they said, well, you made cancer look so easy the first time. Do that again. You know what I mean? Like do that again. And that felt good, you know. Shout out to not only my family, my mother, my sister who just brought me anything that I needed. Shout out to Miracle, still trying to make the home comfortable. But just my frat brothers again, just kind of making sure that I was good, and other frat brothers that even took me to some of my treatments, you know, because it's so funny. My line brother, and you probably know him, but Justin Faust, he was like, he didn't understand how real it was until he actually got to sit in the room. Mm-hmm. And this was my last treatment, and when he saw that needle go into my port, he was like, oh, this is real. You never know how, because you never exposed to it, you know. But I had to, you know, get back into my superhero mode, you know, and that mindset, because this shall pass. But then also too, some of my Howard University family, Marcus Ware, by the way, actually was going through treatment, and I was like, the type of treatment that you had, it sounds familiar to what I had. And so we were talking on Instagram, and he was like, oh yeah, man, like I had a huge lump coming out of my chest, and this is what happened. And so that's the kind of cancer support I want to have, not the sorrow stories. And, you know, I want to have where he's like, you know what, you can get through it because I was still able to work. It's not as aggressive. And he's saying this, and this is his first time. So I'm like, if I had the worst, and my oncologist was telling me that was the worst, the R-CHOP, this is going to be a little bit easier. So really just pouring into myself and not allowing the devil to get the best of me, despite this coming back again. And but just like, again, that ritual in the shower helped me a lot, because that was the time I had with God. That's the time I was able to let out. There was this one time, man, I was taking a shower, and because it's so much, you see what I'm saying? Like, I literally didn't even get a chance to do my ritual, and I was just bawling out crying, you know, and Miracle came in and was like, are you okay? I was like, it's just a lot. It's a lot. This is heavy. You know, this is heavy, and I'm trying to stay strong, and I'm trying to push through, but I'm messed up. I'm messed up about this, you know? What if I can't have kids? You see what I'm saying? What happens, you know, next? You know, like, I know I'm not having the same side effects, but like, you know, I don't know, man. Like this is tough. This is really, really tough. But, you know, like, I gotta go through it.
So from stage 1 and the treatment being the worst that it can possibly be.
Yeah.
Stage 4 and it not being as bad. Do you feel that stage 1 prepared you for your second time around mentally?
Yes, but I would say yes and no. Yes, because of the treatment and going through the motions of biopsies and things of that nature, you know, going through the motions of, you know, how do we find out if you are diagnosed with these things? Mm-hmm. Now, I say no is because that joy of being free of this 6-letter word, that wasn't true anymore, you know. And to the point where my oncologist was telling me about is gray zone so what I have is called gray zone lymphoma, meaning that you've had large B-cell lymphoma and you've had classic Hodgkin's lymphoma, and that's very rare to have. Sometimes it should come back in the same form. This came back in a different form. So to be told that you're high risk is the first time could have never prepared me for that, because now that I'm high risk, I have to really watch my stress levels. I have to really be in tune with my energy.
Now, do you feel like you were high stress previously?
Yeah, I mean, working at, you know, I'll say it, working at the bank is stressful. It's very stressful. It's very stressful when you are when you're managing other folks, and it can be a very tedious task. Customers, I need fees, or a different part of the company messed up their accounts and things of that nature. But I have to deal with that. Being yelled at, being told, hey, it's your fault, that's stressful. Yeah, it was very, very, very stressful. And at the same time, I had added on a job because I needed to pay off some certain things, but that job helped. But dealing with serving tables, I was working at Chaplin's. Well, actually, I wasn't working at Chaplin's. That stopped. So then I had to deal with that stress of I couldn't be around people like that because it's not healthy. People are, when you go to a restaurant, some people.
COVID-19. Hey.
Yeah. Here we are. I just saw something. I just saw something today. It was crazy. No mask and a lot of cough. So I was just like, oh, it's time to go. But no, mentally it didn't prepare me because I thought I was good, and it took me to where I had to be in survival mode to the 10th and 100th degree, but at the same time not be selfish enough to let people in.
How long was your treatment plan?
Yeah, like I mentioned, it was 12. So I started in July, and then we finished February 7th, 2019. So I've reached my 1 year. 5 months ago, I reached my 1 year. So yeah, it was 17, yeah, about 5-6 months of treatment. And same, you know what? The treatment wasn't as bad because I didn't have the same side effects, but I was tired more. I was a little bit more tired this time around, and I just believe that it's chemo is no joke, and to have so much the dosages of chemo that I've had, it's very dangerous. You can only get so much medicine in your body.
Did you have to do radiation as well, or just chemo?
So no radiation. So no radiation. Thank God. I didn't have that horror story again. But another part that was stressful is that I switched insurance carriers, and so I was with United Healthcare, but then I went to Kaiser. I heard so many things about Kaiser. My wife told me about Kaiser. Another colleague told me about Kaiser, but I didn't realize that I couldn't stay with the same doctor because Kaiser is so specific. You got to use their doctors, and that was stressful. But that was where Miracle was definitely a lot of help, because as I'm at work, she's trying to get paperwork and trying to talk to them to say, hey, he needs to stay with his oncologist, because they were trying to switch me. And I didn't know if the new oncologist, but Dr. Juan is amazing. So, but I didn't know if he was going to maybe start all over again, or I had to get another biopsy. Like that process was very stressful, but Miracle, she was able to help me through that. And so that's when I did let go, and let her, help. Yeah, that it was okay, like it wasn't as aggressive. I didn't have hair loss as much. I did lose hair, but it was something that just humbled me even more, to be able to kind of push through a lot easier than the last time.
So right about now, you're about a year and a half out, right? What are your rituals today?
I still do the shower. I don't do it every day, but when I'm getting there, or when I'm thinking about it, or when I'm having the nightmares of being in a hospital and being like a little guinea pig or operation toy, I do my ritual at the end of the tub, knees curled up, fetal. I do that. Another thing is that I exercise. When I get to that certain space, I need to exercise. It allows me to run free. I feel free when I run. I'm a runner, but it allows me to just kind of be in a space where I'm at peace. Another ritual is for myself is that I don't tolerate stress, and how I don't tolerate stress is just to avoid those moments, because like I mentioned to you, I'm high risk now. And so and I don't think I mentioned this, but with my new oncologist, he was scared to tell me that I was high risk, because once again, he's never seen someone have both spectrums of this thing called lymphoma. And we were in the doctor's office, and I was like, why are you so silent? And that's another thing, ask the doctors these questions, because sometimes they won't tell you. Sometimes they're afraid to tell you. And he was like, I don't think you want to hear this. And I said, hey, doc, I've been through hell and back. I need you to tell me what's up. So he basically told me, number one, you may not have kids. You see what I'm saying? So, but number two, you're high risk. So if for whatever reason that this comes back again, then it's going to hit me in the worst way, because then I would be required to get a stem cell transplant where they would put me under, take my stem cells, clean them up. But the recovery process takes time. Mm-hmm. And that I didn't want to hear that I'm high risk. That was hard. That was hard to accept, because now I have to be careful about every single thing that I do. So no stress, anything, how I eat, maintaining my energy, my chakras, however you want to say it, you know what I mean? I have to be careful about life now. However,
so like you have a greater appreciation.
I have a whole greater appreciation. And honestly, I was just talking to another survivor who just finished their chemo like a month ago. And you just have to, one, don't take life for granted, and two, just live life to the fullest, because tomorrow is not promised. And I know that's cliche-ish, but like when you've gone through what I've gone through, you have to live life like tomorrow is not promised, and fulfill those dreams, or just go for it, and I went for it, and I started a nonprofit, to help cancer survivors like myself be able to have this platform like we have now, to be able to have that therapy, to get it off your chest. Mm-hmm. It's heavy. I have some people that are still just like dealing with it, and they're, 4 or 5 years now just getting comfortable, to be able to say, hey, I'm a cancer survivor, whether you like it or not.
Right. Because
the world makes it seem so bad, like they hear it, they're like, oh, tiptoe. Oh, God bless you. Like, like that's, yeah, God bless you, so, yeah.
Now, I want to back up for a second, and I think this may have been where you were going before I took us in that direction.
No worries.
You're talking about what the doctor told you that you could never have.
Yeah.
And I'm always very intentional with acknowledging what science and doctors tell us is never possible and can't happen. And that faith-based part, but God, right? And I have my own testimonies about that, but I know that you have a little girl now, and you were told that you would not be able to have a child. Yeah. So what was that moment like?
Wow. So, for those that don't know, if chemo kills, your sperm count, and you're told prior to even starting chemo to find a sperm lab to freeze your sperm, because the amount of chemotherapy, it cuts it in half and cuts it in half and cuts it in half. So once again, to, be told like, dang, you're not going to have kids. I already started to think like, I'm just going to have to adopt, and I talked to my wife about that. Like, how do you feel about adoption? And she was with it, However, it was September of last year, and my wife, brought it to my attention. Hey, we're expecting. I said, what? It was kind of weird because it was like when she told me, I was like, nah. In my head, I was like, nah. And I'm sure she'd be like, dang, I'm telling you we're having a baby, and this is your response? What are you on? You see what I'm saying? Like,
right.
but, in that moment, I just didn't think it was surreal, but she had 3 tests. She was like, yeah, I've taken it. We're having a baby. And then, so for me, it was just like, through God, all things are possible, And even when I told my doctor, he was like, what? He was like, you're having a child? You didn't freeze your sperm? And I said, no. And so, Nova is her name, and that's with an H. And Nova means gift from God. And I've heard stories of people that couldn't have kids, and it happened, and I'm just blessed. I'm very grateful that God allowed me to have something that they said I couldn't have, and that's made me even put more faith in Him, because He can make a way out of no way, and I'm blessed because not many people are able to do that. You usually don't have any more swimmers, so I'm grateful for her. And if we decide to have more kids, I just know I'm gonna put it in God's hands again, because He can make it happen. He can definitely make it happen. So it's a miracle baby, and my wife's name is Miracle, so it was a miracle within a miracle. I always say that. It's like Nova's a miracle within a miracle, and that's dope. And maybe God aligned it that way. Who knows? It's almost scary a little bit, but that's how it happened.
It's your blessing. So
yes, ma'am. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I'm loving it. So I feel like your journey has been one that is definitely for the books. So hopefully these are things that you are compiling to be able to share with people in book form. But I would say that, as we get ready to wrap up, where you are today, still in your 30s.
Yeah.
And
I don't look like it, but
and have been through all of what you've been through.
Yeah.
Would you change any of it?
Hey, that's a heavy question. It's very heavy. You know what? No. You know what? I wouldn't change anything. When I think back about everything that has transpired prior to the first diagnoses, to after the first diagnoses, and to now, I've been truly blessed, and it's very inspiring how I was able to fight the battle of cancer, not only the first time, and live life to the fullest, but even the second time, to really not only have my faith grow a trillion, but the opportunities I had. I mean, I've been blessed to go to major workshops for the company. The Black African American Leaders Program in North Carolina. I got selected for that. These awards that I've been receiving. The Coaches vs. Cancer, and then just that connection with American Cancer Society, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, just would light the night, and being tapped on and say, hey, I think you would be dope person because of what you've done. Just the things that I've accomplished during Howard Homecoming, you already know. and being and believing in myself, because a lot of those events, as you know, I came up with that by myself. Those are my visions, and I've took chances on those. But I'm like, I always think about it, like, if I can beat cancer, I can make this happen. To even now creating a nonprofit that is just a unique and different, right? And Black owned, because a lot of these nonprofits or these cancer initiatives are not owned by us. Like if you look, you can look at the leadership and it's all, white and Caucasian, and I'm not knocking that. But, I was inspired to start positive deposits, not only to speak positivity into cancer survivors or patients, but just give us as Black and brown people some hope, and a voice, and be courageous to talk about this right here, or raise money and support families and people that really need it, or challenge big companies like LLS to do more in the community rather than in the rich neighborhoods, I would say. The Rockvilles, the Restons. No, come to PG County, come to Ward 8. What can you offer so that they can believe in the company to support? Or, you know what? Maybe we don't need them. And positive deposits can be that the support system for the community. And now I'm just blessed, and just to be able to overcome anything. And so as I pour into my legacy, I want Nova to know that she can do anything she puts her mind to, because whatever you put into your mental, like I was saying the other time, is going to drive, your destiny. It's going to drive your destiny. And once you start not putting your faith in God and start getting into your head and thinking those negative thoughts, it's going to slow down the process. It's going to slow down whatever you want to do. Only the strong survive. Only the strong survive. And that's the reality of this whole thing. But I'm just blessed. I'm very blessed. And I want more other people to know that having cancer and surviving is not only a blessing, but it's a testimony that will touch other people's lives to help them through it. And it's okay to say, I am a cancer survivor. Mm-hmm. I went through this, but I'm still here. I ain't going nowhere. And I'm going to do dope things, and I'm going to be great. And I'm going to soar higher than anyone else.
Right. Yeah. Now, my next two questions.
Let's do it.
I'm a firm believer in words of affirmation. I love words of affirmation.
Ooh, that's your love language?
That's definitely my love language. What would you say are some of the words of affirmation that carried you through during these years?
One of them is, and I received this note when I first got my port put in, and this is from my wife. She said that you're my Superman. You are amazing, and you're my Superman. You're my other boss told me, you're the definition of perseverance. You're resilient. You are not only hope, but you're inspiration for the future. I've been told that you just you're hardworking, but your hard work pays off. And so just those are just some. But also, you're a fighter. You are a fighter. You're a fearless fighter. So hearing those things just help, because as you know, words of affirmation those are those genuine words that are feel goods, that fill up your love tank.
Yeah.
And positive. They're very positive. They have to come from the heart. You can tell if it's not, and then you'd be like, nope, my love tank gone down. Okay, side eye, right? Side eye. Okay. Bye-bye. Right. So yeah, those are the ones that really stuck out.
Okay. So part 2 of that question: do you have a favorite Bible verse? And if you do, what is it?
Oh man. Ooh. Where's my phone? Jesus.
What's the Bible app?
Yeah, I need to get the Bible app. Hold up. My favorite verse. It's in Corinthians. Hold up. 1 Corinthians.
I know you weren't prepared for that one.
I definitely wasn't.
Very.
Actually, I'll take that back. And so this is actually actually have this a tattoo actually, and it is Isaiah 54:17. No weapon formed against me shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their righteousness is from me, says the Lord. And so Isaiah 54:17 that's my verse. And I truly believe that, because a lot of times, people will tell you you won't be here. People tell you can't do it. People to always try to bring you down. But when you truly believe in God, and you truly, really believe in God and put all your faith in there, once you speak that out there, nothing can get in your way. And it's only if you allow it to, then it will. And so that is one of my favorite verses. I tattooed it on myself. I don't know if tattoos a sin, but Isaiah 54:17 is my verse. And so I just challenge everyone to not only get connected with God, but have that favorite verse. What's your favorite verse?
Oh my goodness. So I have a few of them, but definitely no weapon formed against me. But when it comes time to really narrow down and just be one and in the spirit is the verse, I don't know it by heart, but it essentially talks about like how God knew who you were before you were even born. And never worrying about anything that anybody else puts on you, but knowing that God knew who you were before you were even in your mother's womb. And to me, that's very powerful because we go through so many ups and downs. We go through so many trials and tribulations. And there's even a stint of time where you're trying to identify who you are. And you're trying to find yourself. And so just being able to dig inside of you and really believe that God has already called you through through whatever storms, you've already made it through those storms. And so to know that all of that resides in you, and to know that I can look within myself, seek God's face, and everything will be okay. To me, those are just some like powerful scriptures that I often keep top of mind before I do anything.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, man. That's a really good question, man. You had me threw me off.
Wait, you had me stumped. I'm like, crap, I don't know the exact verse, but this is what they say.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. Well, since that's the last question, I will say, man, this was a pleasure allowing you to, walk me through that journey. And it's so funny you mentioned about a book, and I am going to write a book which will, really, really dig in deep. With only an hour, you can only go so much, but I'm blessed to have you to help me navigate through those moments and those questions that really touch into my journey. And I just want to say for everyone that's listening that cancer is never your downfall, and you should never, ever, ever, ever sink in your sorrows, because God has your back, but you have to claim it. You have to claim the victory, and you can get through it. Cancer is just another hurdle that you just have to jump over, and you can beat it just like I did, and you'll be fine. And so I will just say that, you can definitely, I want to not only thank Angel again, but also to follow us on Instagram at Positive Deposits, INC_. The website, positivedeposits.org. You can hear this again. You can share this with your friends and family at iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Yes, we are on all platforms. And, and Angel, and if you want to follow this host, or you want this host to interview you, trust. Was it DC Media Connect, right?
Yeah, on social media, we're DC Media Connect, our website, DC Media Connection. But before I go to complete close, can I say one thing, Presley?
Of course. Yeah, no
Okay.
question.
So one of the things that, I don't know, it just hit my spirit to share this with your audience. I have this analogy around your storm.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people are so afraid of being in a storm. And your storm is where your muscles are made. Your storm is where you are able to really grow deeper in your relationship with Christ. You're able to really touch and tap into your faith. That's one. But your storm creates your story. Your story is where you can take everything that you've been through. And not only is it a testimony, but you feel good in being able to release it because you're no longer harboring it. It's no longer a weight on you. You're able to share it with other people, and other people are able to learn from it. And other people, in learning from that situation, they're able to say, I can make it through this storm that I might be going through as well. Now, I take it one step forward. So your storm becomes your story. Your story becomes your store. That's your financial blessing that comes from sharing. Everything that God puts us through, it's so that he gets the glory ultimately. But you have to be willing to fight through the storm. You have to be willing to share the story so that God can get the glory, and God will bless you in multitude of ways. But you have to be willing to go through each of those phases. So wherever you are in your storm, know that it's okay to own it, to share it, and that there's a blessing waiting for you on the other side.
Woo! And now that's a positive deposit. That is a positive deposit. So I'm going to end with that. And Angel, thank you for those strong points. And you know, you've done it. You've already just put the signature of transforming minds to change lives. And so I want to thank you for coming on this journey with me, not only once, but twice. Yeah, it's a wrap. It is a wrap. Thank you so much. We'll talk to y'all soon.